In a rare moment of vulnerability, basketball legend Shaquille O'Neal confesses how he resisted acknowledging the revolution Stephen Curry was bringing to the NBA. What began as skepticism transformed into a profound lesson in humility and respect. The studio of The Big Podcast with Shaq pulsed with energy as soft lights illuminated the set. Shaquille O'Neal adjusted his imposing body in the specially reinforced chair to accommodate his 7 feet 1 inch and approximately 325 pounds. Around him, his co-hosts and a special NBA guest settled in. Professional microphones strategically positioned on the table, along with some water bottles and snacks. Today, we're going to talk about transformation, announced the co-host, directing a meaningful look at Shaq. Players who completely changed the game of the NBA. I didn't see you press the subscribe button on our channel. It will only take you a second, and leave your opinion there in the comments. The screen behind them lit up with archival footage. Shaquille O'Neal at his peak. Devastating dunks that made the backboards tremble. Opposing centers being pushed around like children. The extravagant celebrations after each display of dominance. The 4 championship rings. A virtually invincible Los Angeles Lakers. Shaq represented the pinnacle of physical dominance in basketball, narrated the special guest as the images continued. A force of nature that altered the rules of the game. Literally, the NBA had to modify rules because of him. The footage abruptly changed. It now showed Stephen Curry, 6 feet 2 inches, approximately 185 pounds, physically closer to an average fan than the stereotype of an NBA superstar. In the video, Curry launched impossible shots from absurd distances, danced between larger defenders, celebrated with his characteristic mouthguard bite. And then came this man, continued the guest, who transformed the game in a completely opposite way. The camera returned to the studio, capturing Shaq's contemplative gaze. "You always valued physical dominance," said the co-host directly to Shaq. "What did you think when this skinny kid started changing basketball with 3-point shots?" The change was instantaneous. Shaq's normally jovial and playful demeanor turned serious. He looked away for a moment, took a deep breath. When his eyes returned to the camera, there was a rare vulnerability there. "I'm going to be completely honest here," he began, his deep voice softer than usual. "I didn't believe it. I simply didn't believe it." He shifted in his chair, visibly uncomfortable with the admission. "I come from a school where basketball is won in the paint. I was the big Aristotle, the Diesel. My game was about physical dominance." An unusual silence took over the studio. The faces of the other participants registered surprise at Shaq's uncommon candor. "I looked at this skinny guy from Davidson," Shaq continued, "a guy who didn't even look like he belonged in the same league as me physically, and I thought, this is a fad. This won't last." He paused, a wistful smile forming on his face. "And that was just the beginning of my mistake." The screen displays images from the 2009 NBA Draft. A young Stephen Curry, in a suit, nervous smile, waiting for his name to be called. Commissioner David Stern finally announces, with the 7th pick in the 2009 NBA Draft, the Golden State Warriors select Stephen Curry from Davidson College. 6 teams had passed on him. 6 missed opportunities. "When he entered the league, I didn't even pay attention," Shaq confesses, gesturing with exaggerated nonchalance. "To me, he was just another shooter in a league full of them. I had seen many guys like him come and go without leaving a mark." The production displays photos of an even younger Curry in his early years with the Warriors. The uniform seemed too big for his slender frame. The images show Curry limping, being helped off the court, doctors repeatedly examining his ankle. And then, when he started having ankle problems, I thought, see? This is what happens with these smaller guys. They can't handle the grind of the NBA. Shaq shakes his head, acknowledging his short-sightedness. I was on TNT commentating at that time, and the guys can confirm, I said on air, with no filter, that shooting teams don't win championships. Clips from the Inside the NBA show appear on the screen. Shaq, alongside Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Ernie Johnson, declaring with full confidence, "Three-point shooting is like a jab in boxing. It doesn't knock anyone out. And winning championships in the paint has been the law of the NBA since the game existed. It's always been that way. It always will be." Back in the studio, Shaq opens his arms in a gesture of surrender. I had this philosophy etched in my mind. The strongest man dictates the rules. It worked for me, 4 rings, MVP, Hall of Fame. When you've had success playing a certain way, it's hard to accept that there's another path. The montage now shows the 2013 to 2014 Warriors gaining momentum. Curry starting to hit shots from increasingly absurd distances, his ankle finally stable, his name gradually entering conversations about rising stars. Even when they started winning games, I thought, okay, regular season is one thing, playoffs are a whole different story. When the game gets physical in the playoffs, when the refs allow more contact, this style will crumble. Shaq runs his hand over his face, as if trying to erase his old thoughts. I wasn't alone in this. I talked to Charles, to Karl Malone, even to Jordan. We all shared this skepticism about the outside shooting game. It was like a brotherhood of dinosaurs, you know? He laughs at himself. The problem is, when you've been big your whole life, Shaq opens his arms showing his still, impressive physique. It's hard to understand how someone small can dominate. It's against everything you've learned about the game. The screen shows Curry breaking the record for most three-pointers in a season. Oracle Arena in ecstasy. The numbers didn't lie. And even seeing the numbers, the records being broken, Shaq concludes, looking directly at the camera, a part of me still resisted. Until something happened that I couldn't ignore anymore. The image on the screen changes to February 27th, 2016. Oracle Arena. Warriors against Oklahoma City Thunder. Final second of overtime. Score tied. Stephen Curry crosses half court, still more than 30 feet from the basket. Without hesitation, he sets up and shoots. The ball traces a perfect arc, as if obeying a mathematics that only Curry understands. The entire arena holds its breath. The net swishes. Warriors win. The camera captures Curry's frenzied celebration, followed by a close-up of Kevin Durant's stunned face on the Thunder bench. I was watching this game at home, Shaq narrates, his expression in the studio mirroring the same disbelief of that night. Curry had hit 12 threes, including that bomb to win the game. And yet, he shakes his head. My first reaction was to think luck. A self-deprecating smile crosses his face. I was trying not to see what was right in front of me. The production displays images of the Warriors lifting the Larry O'Brien Trophy in 2015. Curry, still with a boyish face, holding the trophy, the confetti falling around him. When they won in 2015, I told everyone that they only won because Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving were injured. Shaq lowers his voice, almost ashamed. I was looking for any excuse. The video fast-forwards to the Warriors' historic 2015 to 2016 season. 73 wins and 9 losses, the best campaign of all time. Curry receiving the MVP trophy, unanimously, the first in NBA history. But something was changing in me, Shaq admits, leaning forward in his chair. One night, I was watching a game with my son, who had become completely obsessed with Curry. The production shows a photo of Shaq with his children. My son, noticing my expression during the game, asked me directly, "Dad, why don't you like Curry? Is it because he plays differently than you?" Shaq swallows hard, clearly impacted by the memory. Out of the mouth of a child, you know? It caught me off guard. It made me question my own ego, how I was clinging to my legacy. The footage shows Shaq at an NBA event, talking to Stephen's father, Del Curry. After that, I had a conversation with Del Curry at an event. He told me about how Steph trained when he was a kid, the endless hours shooting, how he had to work twice as hard to make up for not being the tallest or most athletic. The screen then displays a montage, children in parks, backyards, gyms, all trying to imitate Curry's signature shot. And then I started seeing this everywhere, Shaq says, a genuine smile forming. Kids on every court didn't want to dunk like Shaq anymore. They wanted to shoot like Curry. That's when I realized this guy isn't just good. He's changing the DNA of the game. The camera zooms in on Shaquille O'Neal's face in the podcast studio. Something rare is happening. The basketball giant, known for his larger-than-life personality, has misty eyes. He blinks repeatedly, trying to maintain composure as he prepares for the most vulnerable part of his story. "Look," he says, his voice slightly choked up. "It's not easy for someone my size and with my ego to admit this, but I was completely wrong about Stephen Curry." He pauses, taking a deep breath. Not just wrong about his ability, but wrong about what it means to be great in this game. The production displays images of an NBA event where Curry and Shaq talk in a secluded corner. The physical contrast is striking. Shaq looks like a mountain next to Curry's average build. But there is something leveling in the way they look at each other, mutual respect transcending physical differences. Few people know this, but I sought out Steph privately after an NBA event, Shaq reveals. I wanted to look him in the eye and tell him that I underestimated him. I wanted him to know that I recognize his greatness. A genuine smile lights up Shaq's face. You know what he did? He just smiled, thanked me, and said that he grew up watching me play, that I was an inspiration to him too. Shaq shakes his head in admiration. The humility of this guy, after everything he's achieved, it hit me in a way I didn't expect. The video shows the evolution of the NBA in recent years, teams adopting shooter-heavy lineups, increasingly taller players developing perimeter skills, the game expanding beyond the paint, the complete transformation of modern basketball. I spent my entire career believing that there was only one path to greatness in basketball, Shaq reflects. Strength, physical dominance, imposition of will. His face breaks into a genuine smile. Steph showed me that there's another kind of strength. Precision is also power. Skill is also dominance. The screen displays Curry lifting multiple trophies, breaking the record for most three-pointers in NBA history, cementing his undeniable legacy. As an analyst and former player, I realized that I have a responsibility, Shaq says, seriously. I can't stay stuck in the past. The game evolves. And now, when I see a small kid with big dreams, I remember Curry. And I think, who am I to say he can't? For a moment, the studio is in complete silence, absorbing the weight of his confession. Then, like a cloud dissipating, Shaq's expression changes. the old mischievous smile returns. "But let me make one thing clear," he grins, pointing at the camera. "If Curry tried to take me on in the paint, it would still be a disaster for him." Shaq's booming laughter fills the studio, everyone joining in. Just as Curry transformed basketball, maybe Shaq was evolving too, maintaining his essence but expanding his horizons.